Assalamualaikum everyone, welcome to database course. In today's lecture we will learn about relational data model. In our previous lecture we have discussed what is a data model, then we have seen different types of data model. First we learned about record based data model, which include hierarchical model, network model and relational model. Next, we discussed about object-based data models, which include entity relation model and object-oriented model. We also discussed the roles of data administrator and database administrator. The outline of today's lecture is we will discuss the history of relational model, then we will learn about the different terminologies related to relational database, then we will revise the concepts of mathematical relations and how we derive database relations from mathematical relations. Then we will learn about relation schema, different properties of relations, and then what are the relational keys and integrity constraints. So let's start. Okay, first let's have a look on the history of relational model. So the concept of relational model was first presented by E.F. Cord in his paper A Relational Model of Data for Large Shared Data Banks. So in this model, he actually presented a relational model for data and it became a landmark in database system. The main objective of this model was to allow a high degree of data independence, so that the application program should not get affected by modifications to the internal data representation. Then it also provides solutions to deal with the problems like consistency and redundancy. So there were a lot of research on this model, but the most significant research was done by three different organizations. First, we have System R. It was a prototype developed at IBM Research Lab at San Jose, California in late 1970s. So the System R actually provides the implementation prototype of relational model. It proved to be an excellent source of information about implementation concerns such as transaction management, concurrency control, recovery techniques, data security and integrity. So after that, there were a lot of researches and publications on System R, which actually led to the two main developments. First, the development of structured query language called SQL, which became the standard language for RDBMS. And the next is the production of various commercial relational database management systems like SQLDS from IBM and Oracle from Oracle Corporation. Next project was INGRESS, which is Interactive Graphic Retrieval System project in University of California at Berkeley. They also focused on all the objectives that were presented by System R, and it proved to be an excellent research for relational database model. Next research was Peterlee Test Vehicle at IBM UK Scientific Lab. This project was mostly focused on theoretical orientation than the previous two models. So after that, there were a lot of commercial systems that were based on relational model like DBase, RBase, Paradox. Then we have Microsoft Access, which is a product of Microsoft Office. We also have Oracle, DB2, Informix, Sybase, Microsoft SQL Server, MySQL. All these famous DBMS are based on a relational model. Now we have hundreds of database management systems that are based on the relational model. So first, let's discuss the different terminologies of relational database. First, why we called it relational database? Because we use relations in our database. So what is a relation? A relation is a table with columns and rows. So basically, a relation in relational model is a table, two-dimensional table that has columns and rows. So how we identify the relation in our database? We actually create relation based on entities. So first we identify the entities of our organization or our company, and then we create relation or table based on those entities. For example, a student can be an entity for a university management system, so we can create a relation student in our database. Next we have attribute, and attribute is a named column of a relation. So attribute is basically the property of a relation. Attributes actually define the relation. For example, a student can has student ID, student name, age, contact number. These are the different attributes of student. So we actually define the attribute as a column of a table. Next we have domain. A domain is a set of allowable values for one or more attributes. So each attribute has a specific domain. A domain contains the set of allowable values. For example, we can say that the student's age can has only number, or we can say that the age will be between 15 and 20 years. So these are the different values that we allow for that particular attribute. So this is actually a domain in which we define all the rules that must be followed by all the values that attribute can hold. Next we have tuple. A tuple is a row of a relation. So a single record that is represented by a row in a table is called a tuple. For example, a record of a single student. Next terminology we have is degree. The degree of a relation is the number of attributes it contains. So the number of columns actually define the degree of a relation or table. So if we have only one attribute, we can call it as a unary relation. A relation with two attributes is called binary relation, and the relation with three attributes is called ternary relation. And after that we use the term n-ary for different numbers. Next we have cardinality. The cardinality of a relation is the number of tuples it contains. So we calculate the cardinality of a relation by counting the total number of records we have in that table. The cardinality will be increased if we add more records, or it will decrease if we remove or delete any record from the table. So what is a relational database? It is a collection of normalized relations with distinct relation names. It is a collection of normalized tables with distinct table names. We will discuss normalized term later. So here we have example. We have two different relations. First we have branch relation, and then we have staff relation. So you can see that this is actually a table with rows and columns that we call as relation. These columns are actually the attribute of this relation, like branch number, street, city, postcode. These are the different attributes or columns of this table branch. This is the tuple. These records are actually the tuples or rows of this relation. By counting these tuples, we can find the cardinality of our relation, and by counting the attributes or the columns of a table, we can find the degree of our relation. Here we see the domain name, like we have the attribute branch number and its domain name is branch numbers, the set of all possible branch numbers. Here the domain definition is that it will be of type characters, size 4, and the range will be between B001 to B999. So all the branch numbers in the branch table must be between this range. Actually, we define the domain for this branch number. All the values must follow this domain constraint. Similarly, like for date of birth, we have range and specific format. So all the values in date of birth must follow this format. So this is actually a domain which defines the set of all possible values that particular attribute can hold. The concept of relational database was derived from mathematical relations. Consider two sets D1 and D2. So for D1 we have two values 2 and 4 and D2 is equals to 1, 3, 5. The Cartesian product of these two sets D1 cross D2 is the set of all ordered pairs such that the first element is a member of D1 and the second element is a member of D2. So when we actually multiply these two sets, we will get this Cartesian product, which is represented by D1 multiplied by D2. So first we will take the first element and multiply it with all the elements of D2. So we will have 2, 1, 2, 3 and 2, 5. Next we will have 4, 1, 4, 3 and 4, 5. So we actually multiply these two sets and this is called the Cartesian product. So the Cartesian product of D1 and D2 is this. Now any subset of this Cartesian product is a relation. Like we can take any subset from this product and that subset is called a relation. For example, here we have taken 2, 1 and 4, 1. So these are the subset of this product and it becomes a relation. We may specify which ordered pair will be in relation by giving some conditions. So we can make relations based on some conditions as well. For example, this relation we can define it as xy, where x belongs to D1, like this value belongs to this D1, y belongs to D2, this second value of y belongs to D2, and here is a condition y equals to 1, where this second value is 1. So we have these two sets from this Cartesian product in which the second value y is equals to 1. Let's take another example. We have a relation S that is equals to a pair of xy such that x belongs to D1, y belongs to D2 and x equals to 2y. It means that the value of x will be equals to 2 times value of y. So from here we can check that this first pair satisfies this condition. So y is 1 and the 2 times y will be x, which is 2. So we get this relation from this Cartesian product based on this condition. So this is the concept of sets, relation and Cartesian product in maths. Now we can apply this concept of mathematical relations to database. So what is a database relation? It is actually a relation over collection of sets, domain values D1, D2 up to Dn, n is any specific number, is a subset of the Cartesian product D1 cross D2 cross Dn. So we have different domains and relation is basically a subset of Cartesian product of all the domains actually. So a relation thus is a set of n tuples. Here n can be any number D1, D2 up to Dn, where Di belongs to capital Di, means these values belongs to domains. Like if we have D1, it will belong to domain 1. If we have value D2, then it will belong to domain 2. Consider this example. First we have the domain branch number, or you can say attribute, and we have two values here. Then we have street, we also have two values for street. Next we have city domain, we have two values for city, and then we have postcode and we have two values for postcode. Now consider this relation R and it includes this B005 22 Deer Road, London, SW1 4EH. Next we have B007 16 this street, Aberdeen, AB2 3SU. So this is a relation over branch number cross street cross city cross postcode. So actually this is the Cartesian product of these domains, and from this Cartesian product we have this subset that we call as relation R. So you can consider this branch number as D1, street as D2, city as D3 and postcode as D4. So from this value you can see that this D1 belongs to this domain 1, that is branch number. This value D2 belongs to the street domain, the value London, that is D3 value, belongs to third domain city, and this fourth D1 value belongs to postcode, which is actually domain 4. So we have satisfied this condition that value D1 belongs to first domain. So in this way we can derive relations from the Cartesian product of domain. So what is the relation schema? It is actually a named relation defined by a set of attributes and domain name pairs. So we have a set of attribute and domain pair. Like here we represent A1, A2 up to AN as attributes with domains D1, D2 up to Dn. So the set A1, D1 means A1 is the attribute having domain D1, A2 is the second attribute having domain D2 up to AN and Dn. It can be any number. This n can be 4, 5, 6, 7. Depends on the number of attributes we have in our relation. So this is actually a relation schema. A set of attributes and domain is a relation schema. Here you can see that this is branch number is an attribute and then it has data type text. Okay, we don't define all the domain here. We are just writing the data type for this attribute. Like for street we have text, for city we have text, and for postcode we have text. So the relation like we have defined before is a set of n tuples where we have this attribute and this value. Then we have second attribute and second value. Then we have the last attribute and last value, such that the first value belongs to domain 1, the second value belongs to domain 2, like we have discussed before. So here you can see we have taken the example of branch table that we have seen before. It has attribute branch number and then it has value B005. So this is actually this D1 and it belongs to domain 1, D1, that is the branch number domain. Then we have second attribute and its value is 22 Deer Road and this belongs to domain 2. Similarly, we have city London, postcode and this value. So this is actually a relation instance. Relation instance is a tuple or set of tuples in a relation at a particular time. So how we translate the relation schema into our database? We actually write relation as a table. We list the attribute names as column headings and tuples as rows. So these attributes will become the column headings and these values will be the tuple or the record in our database, or you can say that the row of the table will contain these values. So what is a relational database schema? It is a collection of relation schemas. Like here we have defined the relation schema of one table branch. So when we will define the relation schema of all the tables in our database, so the set of all the relation schemas will be our relational database schema, and each with a distinct name. So all the relations will have a distinct name. We have some properties of relations that must be fulfilled in relational model. First is the relation has a distinct name. So no two tables can have the same name in your database. All the tables or relations must have a unique name. Next, each column has a distinct name, the name of the attribute it represents. So for each table, all the columns of that table must have a distinct name. So a single table cannot has two columns with same name. Each cell contains at most one value. So we must have a single value for each column. Like we cannot have two postal codes for a single branch number. It must be one value. We cannot have two names in the first name field. Next, the values of an attribute are all from the same domain. So if we have defined the attribute age of a student, so all the values of the age should be from the same domain. There should be numbers if we have defined the data type as number. They should be within the range if we have defined some range for that age. So the attribute will hold all the values from the same domain. Each tuple is distinct. There are no duplicate tuples. So we will store the record of a single student only once. We cannot repeat that record. So all the records or rows will be distinct. You cannot have duplicates. You cannot have record of a single person twice in your database. Order of tuple is immaterial. The order of tuples or rows is not important. Like for example, here the record of John can come after the David and David can come before the John record. So the order of tuple is not important. Next we have relational keys. Like we have said that the tuple cannot be duplicated in a relation. So relational key is an attribute or set of attributes which help you to identify a row in a relation. So we have distinct tuples or records in our table. So we need an attribute or set of attributes that can uniquely identify a row in a table. We have different types of keys. First we have super key. A super key is an attribute or set of attributes that uniquely identifies a tuple within a relation. So super key can has a single attribute or sets of attributes that uniquely identifies a tuple within a relation. But the super key may contain additional attributes that are not necessary for unique identification. And we are interested in identifying super keys that contain only the minimum number of attributes that are required for unique identification. Next we have a candidate key. So a candidate key is a super key such that no proper subset is a super key within a relation. So a candidate key must uniquely identify the tuple, and no proper subset of candidate key has the uniqueness property. We derive candidate key from a super key. So candidate key can be a subset of super key. All the candidate keys are actually super keys, while not all the super keys can be candidate keys. For example, if we take example of this branch table, here you can see that the branch number is uniquely identify the record because we have distinct values in our branch number field. Now here you can see that in city we have London twice. So the two different branches belong to London. So this field cannot uniquely identify the record. Next we have postcode. So postcode is also uniquely identifying each record. So we have two candidate key for the table branch number and postcode. Both are uniquely identifying each record of branch table. Now look at this viewing table. Here we have this client number field, but we cannot take this client number as the candidate key because you can see that here we have two clients with the same client number. So a single client can view different properties as well. Next we have property number. So you can see that the same property is repeating because the same property can be viewed by different clients as well. So this alone cannot be a candidate key. The view date can also repeat. Okay, here you can see that we don't have any repeating value, any duplicate value in view date for this instance of relation. But we know that the view date can have duplicate values. The two clients can view the property on the same date. So we should know the attribute that can uniquely identify the record. So here we can take client number and property number together as a composite key, and that can be our candidate key. For example, the pair of client number and property number can uniquely identify this whole record. When we have two columns or two attributes that are combined to uniquely identify record, that becomes a composite key. So here in case of viewing table we can have a composite key including client number and property number. So next we have primary key. So from the candidate key, the key that is selected to identify tuples uniquely within the relation is called primary key. So we actually select a primary key from candidate keys, and the primary key is the strongest among all the candidate keys. So the other keys that are candidate key but do not become primary key are called alternate keys. For example, in branch table, if we select branch number as primary key, so the postcode will become an alternate key. Next we have foreign key, an attribute or set of attributes within one relation that matches the candidate key of some, possibly the same relation. So if the primary key of a table exists in any other table, we call it as foreign key. For example, here we have this branch number as primary key in our branch table, that is uniquely identifying the record in branch table. And here in staff table, we have this key as well, because we need to know that this staff belongs to which branch. So this is actually creating a relation between these two tables, and here this column becomes a foreign key because it is a primary key of table branch, and it can only contain the values that we have in the branch number. So foreign key is a key that appears to be a primary key in other table. So these are the different keys that are defined in the relational model. This is the instance of Dream Home Rental Database. Here they have shown different tables from the Dream Home Rental Database. We have branch table, staff table, property for rent, client, private owner, viewing, registration. This is based on the relational model. We have columns as attributes, then we have records, or you can say tuple or a row of a table. Then we have primary keys and foreign keys. Here you can see the relational schema of all those tables. Like here we have schema for branch, and it has branch number, street, city and postcode as attributes or columns. The field that is underlined is actually the primary key for that table, and in this way we define the schema of our tables. Next we have integrity constraints. So integrity constraints are rules or restrictions that apply to all instances of the database. Like we have seen the domain constraints, that if the age is selected as number, you can only enter number in that age field. You cannot enter text there. So that is the domain constraint. Here we have some other constraints like entity integrity. In a relation, no attribute of a primary key can be null. So we have defined primary key as a selected field which uniquely identifies all the records of a table. Like for student, we have student ID as a primary key. First, it cannot has duplicate values. No students can have same student ID. Second, it cannot be null. So there cannot be any student without student ID. It cannot contain any null value or empty value. You must enter primary key for your table. This can be called as primary key constraint as well. So we cannot have duplicate values in primary key, and the primary key value cannot be null. Then we have referential integrity. Each foreign key value must match the primary key value of some tuple in its home relation or be completely null. So referential integrity can also be called as foreign key constraint. It means that all the values in a foreign key must match the values in the primary key in its home relation. For example, here you can see that this branch number, here we have the same values that are present in this branch number. You can see that all these values actually are taken from these available values, because your staff member cannot belong to a branch number that actually doesn't exist in your main branch table. Similarly, you have staff number as primary key in staff table, and you can also see staff number in the property for rent table. So all these values will be taken from the values in the table where the staff number is the primary key. because you cannot have any staff number here which actually doesn't exist in the staff table. So this is referential integrity constraint or foreign key constraint. Next we have general constraints. So in general constraints we have rules specified by the users or database administrators of a database that define or constrain some aspects of enterprise. So different organizations can have different constraints. For example, the employees of an organization retire at the age of 40, so they can have constraint on age that the age of an employee cannot be greater than 40. So this is a constraint that is specific to that organization. So these are the general constraints that can be defined by the database administrator or by the organization. So in this session we have discussed the relational database model in detail.